unmanaged emotions. Nobody said this, I'm surprised, because a lot of times the first thing that comes to mind is what gets in the way of people being able to resolve differences in the most constructive way. It's our emotions. Now, not to say emotions are bad. Obviously, they serve a lot of very good purposes, or we wouldn't have them as human beings. They help us connect to each other and care about each other and a lot of other things. However, when we don't manage them well, when we allow the emotions to dictate behavior, they can very much get in the way of being good problem solvers. Problem solving is the most high-level activity that human beings can take part in. It takes a very rational, focused brain. When we are in a state of aroused emotion, we don't have access to that part of our brain. The other thing that happens when we're in an aroused state of emotion is we sometimes express ourselves in ways that are perceived as dangerous to other people. And so a lot of times, and this can happen, you know, if you work in an organization where most of the people are engineers, and you have somebody who tends to be a very outwardly emotionally expressive person, you can watch people shut down right in front of your very eyes. If they don't get up and walk out, they're not there mentally anymore. So, what do we do to help people manage their emotions? There's a whole new wonderful science out there, neuroscience, where we're learning more and more and more about our brains and how they work and what happens when we're in states of arousal. And one of the things it turns out that we can do to de-intensify the state of emotional arousal is something we all have been hearing a lot about. It's mindfulness. Mindfulness and emotional intelligence have a lot in common. So it's being able to be in the moment, being able to be aware of what we're feeling, put a name on it. Interestingly, putting a name on the feeling can be very useful. And helping to buy time so that we don't react very quickly just based on that primitive rat brain stuff where we just are emotional hijack. So it's a skill. It's a learned skill and an ability to become more aware. You would think it's about suppressing your emotions, but it's not. It's not about suppressing at all. It's about becoming more aware of them and then being able to make a choice about what you want to do with them or because of them, rather than allowing yourself to be guided by your emotions. The other thing that neuroscience has taught us is that validation is the other thing that helps to de-intensify emotions. So in other words, not only my own, but yours. So if I see somebody being very upset or angry, by validating you, by simply saying, I can see that you're really terribly upset about this. Tell me more about why or what you're feeling. That helps that person bring the level of felt emotion down. And we can do that for ourselves too. We can say, I get it. I'm really feeling pretty upset right now. The last thing on this list, addressing substantive issues first. So we tend to think that the first thing we have to do for people is to help them address their emotions and to share with each other, you know, how betrayed they feel or hurt they feel or angry they feel or whatever. I've flipped that on its head because what has happened that I've observed, especially, now this is not for every situation. This is not for victim perpetrator kinds of things where emotions are so raw. I wouldn't say that this is for that. But in most situations where there are substantive issues, where there are claims or issues that have concrete facts related to them and concrete answers and actions that can come out of them, what I've observed is that if you allow people to work on those first and you give them the skills and the tools and the process to help them work through those in a rational, constructive way, that they learn how to do that, and they learn that it's possible for them to work together to get to constructive solutions. And when we do that in organizations, if we work on things like goals and roles and priorities and processes and so forth, people realize that the relationship issues can almost take care of themselves. You may still have to circle back later and do a little bit more to teach people how they can talk to each other in a constructive way to deal with relationship issues. But dealing with them first, oftentimes I find things go off the rails very quickly, and it's hard to get them back again.